Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Tuesday, November 14th. Ian Cameron with you, and we are ready to break down the Tuesday NHL card. We've got a bunch of games as usual in action for a Tuesday. Break those down in a moment. Alex B. Smith will be here momentarily, hopefully, although he is a little under the weather just before the show, a little nauseous right now, but hoping to have him in a few moments. Looking forward to this Tuesday card. Before we get into that, of course, we'll recap the Monday events, just two games in the NHL. We saw, obviously, the Edmonton Oilers in the debut of Chris Knoblauch behind the bench get that, the usual wash, rinse, repeat first game with the new head coach, and that team wins. And it happened again last night, 4-1 for the Edmonton Oilers. It looked like same old Oilers early, running around in their own zone, give up a goal in the opening minute to Matthew Barzal. But they did settle in after that and got better as the game went on. Still gave up 33 shots, but if you actually look at the totality of that game, if you were watching it, there is no question that, you know, they weren't giving up really the high danger chances that I think have really plagued them in recent years. So right now, all kinds of situations for Edmonton where, I felt that they settled in as that game went on. And what was really good to see is, the two leaders who have, let's be real, they have not played at the level that we know they're capable of. And I'm not saying they've been awful, but they have not been great. And they, I don't think they've even been good so far this year. They've been average, decidedly average, based on what they're capable of. And of course, we're talking about number 97, Connor McDavid, and of course, Leon Draisaitl as well. Both of those guys really stepped up for the Edmonton Oilers last night. They played solid games. McDavid gets a power play goal and an assist. A huge 4-point night for Leon Draisaitl, a goal and 3 assists for him in the victory. So that's where it's got to start for the Edmonton Oilers. You got to have your best players leading by example, especially after a coaching change. And there is no question we saw that from Connor and Leon. Both of them were solid. They kind of led the way. The general leads, the troops will follow. I have said that a lot on this show, and that's exactly what we saw from the Edmonton Oilers last night. So good start in the Knoblauch era. But again, it's one game. They've got to string wins together. It does you no good, especially with the hole that they have dug themselves into early in the season to win this game and then lose the next two or something like that. They got to build off this last night in that 4-1 win against the Islanders. It was a weird game. Really, it was kind of like a dead even night for me as far as sides and totals, where we had the first period puck line for both Edmonton and Colorado. Neither of those cashed. But we did have the team total for both of them, and they both cashed. It took until the second period for both of those teams to get going offensively last night. Edmonton with the 4-1 win against the Islanders, and Colorado with a 5-1 win against Seattle. Very sluggish first period. I can only imagine what maybe Jared Bednar said in the intermission, but it was certainly a better Colorado team from that point on. 5 unanswered goals to beat the Seattle Kraken 5-1. There's another team I'm concerned about, Seattle. Just no traction whatsoever for that team this season. And it's been obviously very disappointing to see the way that they have played early in the year. They have definitely underachieved. We're talking about how we thought this team was dramatically underpriced as far as the futures market coming into the year. And all of a sudden, we see them struggling to this degree. Offense has been hard to come by. They are battling injuries. Burakovsky, Eberle, a couple key forwards out, but I don't think it's really the deal breaker as to why Seattle's failing to score goals. This has been a problem for them all year. They just haven't been that same dynamic offensive group that we saw at times last year. So, all kinds of issues right now for the Seattle Kraken, especially offensively. And credit to the Colorado Avalanche last night. They were able to respond to Jared Bednar's criticism for a pretty poor effort, especially in the third period the other night. When they took on the St. Louis Blues, it was just absolutely terrible to see the way that game just got away from the Avalanche. But a much better effort last night from them, and they end up getting the victory against the Seattle Kraken. And very, very happy as well late in that game. And it was late, that 5-1 goal to see Big Val Nichushkin get on the board. We did mention we thought his props were worth a look last night in that game, and he was able to come through and score that 5th goal for the Avalanche last night in that victory. Shout out once again to, it's becoming an Ice Guys show tradition, but we are extremely appreciative of it, from Poe Degen Stoner, $2 for Ice Guys Drinks and Snacks Fund. Exactly. For our betcasts. Exactly. And by the way, we will have a betcast next week exclusively for our Ice Guys Family Plan YouTube channel members and our Patreon page members as well. And we're not going to tell you the day or the time, though. This is going to be one of those surprise, betcasts here, where we're just going to put the link on the Patreon page, the YouTube link, put the YouTube link on the community tab for Ice Guys Family Plan members, just at a moment's notice, and bam, here we are. It's a live betcast. We're on the air now. Here we are. It'll be a day next week. That's the only hint we're going to give you, is that it will be one day next week that we will do that. So, the beer fund. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, drinks and snacks is in, beer fund, Dave Marino. 100% for me it is anyway, the beer fund for the betcast. So next week we will have one. And don't forget, we've got one. Our main betcast, our primary betcast, our open to the public, free-for-all betcast is coming your way 2 weeks from tonight, Tuesday, November 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And it's a pretty good night of hockey that night. So we are definitely looking forward to it, that betcast on November 28th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. All right, let's get into the Tuesday card. Alex will be here momentarily. We got Pittsburgh and Columbus. Penguins minus 185, road favorites here, 6.5 being the total in this game. Pittsburgh Penguins, look, credit to them. Tough spot off a long road trip out west. Come back home and shut out the Buffalo Sabres, although Buffalo was pretty brutal in that game. But credit to Pittsburgh, 4-0 win, 4 straight wins for the Penguins. So playing some better hockey here as they make the trip to Columbus to take on the Jackets. This Columbus team is struggling right now. They've lost 5 straight games. Adam Fantilli, I applaud him. He's a rookie. He doesn't have to try to, say stuff. That should be Boone Jenner's job. That should be Patrick Lyonnais' job. That should be Johnny Gaudreau's job, who continues to have a disappointing season right now for the Columbus Blue Jackets, to say something and to show a little piss and vinegar and agitation and anger and being upset about the start. Here's Adam Fantilli. He's the one that sounds more upset than anybody about the way the team started. Loved what I heard from him after that loss in the shootout to the New York Rangers, where it looked like Columbus had the victory. Alexis Lafreniere ties it in the dying seconds, and then the Rangers go on and win in the shootout. It's Adam Fantilli, the rookie of all people, who's got just a handful of games into his NHL career, speaking out saying, I'm sick of losing. I don't like losing. We shouldn't like this feeling. We need to be better than this. We feel we've got the players to be better than this. I mean, that's Fantilli's got to come out and say that. Why do I want to hear shit like that from Boone Jenner or Gaudreau? Why am I hearing that from a guy that's barely played a dozen games in the NHL as a rookie? So you talk about right now a lack of leadership right now from the Blue Jackets. I'm not. And look, I like Boone Jenner. Nice player, okay, but I think from a captain's perspective, if you're going to be the leader of this team, you've got to try to put your foot down right now. And I just haven't seen that kind of response from him in particular for this Jackets team. So what will you get from Columbus right now? I'm not so sure. They're not a team I'm rushing to take right now, obviously, and they've been dominated by Pittsburgh. If you actually look at the series history, yes, Columbus did beat Pittsburgh 3-2 in overtime in the last meeting between these two teams here at Nationwide Arena last April, 3-2 Columbus in overtime. Remember, that was one of the costly games that it really killed Pittsburgh's chance to make the playoffs. They had the Chicago loss at the end of the year, and then they lost that game in overtime to Columbus. And by then we knew it's over for Pittsburgh. They're not getting into the playoffs. So, we'll see if they can, maybe they remember that. Who knows? Because this is the first time they've played Columbus since then. But prior to Columbus winning that game, Pittsburgh had beaten Columbus in 8 straight games between the two teams. So pretty one-sided series history in favor of the Penguins, regardless of whether the game's been in Pittsburgh or Columbus. That being said, the last 2 meetings, overtime, both of those games, March 7th last year, 5-4, Pittsburgh in overtime in Pittsburgh. And then, as I mentioned just a moment ago, that 3-2 Columbus win in overtime. So I think the draw could get there tonight. And we have seen Pittsburgh, play some close games, the overtime game against LA to end the road trip. Columbus went to a shootout against the Rangers on Sunday night. They have gone beyond regulation in 4 of their last 10 games. So if you've been betting the draw on Columbus games in each of their last 10 games, 4 of those games have gone past regulation. You're definitely up and money and plus units and profitable betting the draw right now with the Jackets. So I like the draw a little bit here. I think it's going to be a close game. I think we will see a step-up effort from the Jackets here in this game. If you actually look at the way they've played at home, they've played, they've been right in every home game. 3-2 loss to Anaheim, 2-0 loss to the Islanders, but it was an empty net goal that put that game away. They had the victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning, 4-2 at home. The Columbus Blue Jackets, which is actually the only win they've had in their last 10 games. And then the Dallas game where they had that hot start, 2-0, and then Dallas came back and ended up winning that game by a score of 5-2. So, but they've been competitive at home, and I don't know if Pittsburgh's going to run away and hide in this game. So the draw, I'm interested. And again, you can get a nice price. I also like the over in this game. I expect goals. I know Pittsburgh earmarked them as an over team coming into the season, and the last 2 of the last 3 have stayed under. But I think when you look at Columbus right now, 4 straight overs, scoring enough goals. Like their offense has been there, but they are certainly struggling to keep the puck out of their own net. We kind of figured that might be an issue for them this year. It's been an issue really for this franchise for years. It's just they just have not been anything but a below average defensive hockey team. The blue line has just never had all that great quality depth. And don't forget, they traded away at the deadline last year to Los Angeles one of the better shutdown defensemen that they had in Vladislav Gavrikov, who, of course, is no longer there. So I think when you look at Columbus, they miss him as far as defensive prowess is concerned. Jari and Merzlikins going to be the goaltending matchup here in this game. It continues to be a struggle for Merzlikins. We'll see how he responds in this game. He actually played, I thought, a better game against the New York Rangers. A solid effort because he did face 40 shots. He turned aside 37. I know the Rangers came back and won, but I thought it was one of his better games. But consistency's been an issue. He got pulled against Florida in the start that he had before that, and he has given up at least 3 goals, Merzlikins, in 5 of his last 8 starts. So it's not exactly what you want to see. So over 6.5 here, Columbus 4 straight overs. We look at the series history, and again, 3 of the last 5 have gone over the total. Here in Columbus, we have seen 3 of the last 4 meetings go over the total between these two teams, 21-8 long-term. 21 of the last 29 games in Columbus with the Penguins and Jackets have gone over. So we're going to go over, and we're going to look at the draw a little bit here in this one. And as far as props go for this game, you look at the Columbus side. Adam Fantilli is the one. You start and end with Adam Fantilli. He's been vocal in the dressing room. He's picking his game up offensively. He's starting to really, really look good out there, comfortable. Points in 3 straight games and back-to-back games with a goal for the number 3 overall pick, Adam Fantilli. So definitely liking this Adam Fantilli props tonight in this game for the Jackets. I think that is where you've got to start. Crosby's been magnificent. It's just a pleasure to see him playing at such a high level still. After all these years, 36 years old now, 7 goals, 8 assists on the season, but he's got goals in 2 of the last 3 games. And more importantly, Sidney Crosby on a very impressive 8-game point streak right now. 8-game point streak, 10 points for Sidney Crosby during that 10-game point streak. So whatever you can find for Crosby, probably worth a look. And I think if I'm not mistaken, against this Columbus team, he's done some damage in the past against this division foe. So Crosby for sure for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's been a good run. This is a promising run. This is the first little, time all year where I've said to myself, well, Pittsburgh's putting some things together. Malkin, by the way, 7 points in the last 5 games for him. So Crosby, Malkin, the 2 stalwarts, they have been noticeable. Erik Karlsson's got a boatload of points as well. He's on a 5-game point streak, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 points for him in the last 5 games for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Gensel's on a 4-game point streak with 7 points, 3 goals in the last 4 games. So it's one of those deals where if you're going to bet some Pittsburgh props tonight, spread the wealth. Crosby, Malkin, Gensel, Karlsson on the back end. There's definitely multiple players you can roll with because there's multiple players riding on a good wave and a red-hot run in the short term offensively right now for this Penguins team. All right, Boston Bruins, Buffalo Sabres. We've got Boston minus 150, road favorites, 6 the total. shaded to the over here in this game. Buffalo, like I said, disappointing against the aforementioned Penguins the other night, return home 4-4 on the year. The Bruins coming off a 3-2 overtime loss to the Montreal Canadiens. They haven't lost 2 games in a row yet this season. And you talk about series domination, and we've got that here with the Bruins and the Sabres. Really big-time domination. 38 of the last 51 meetings Boston has won. Just in Buffalo alone, 20 of the last 26 visits to Buffalo, Boston has won. In the last 10 meetings overall, 9-1 are the Boston Bruins in the last 10 head-to-head encounters with the Buffalo Sabres. So, I certainly think Boston probably bounces back and wins this game. It's not a team I'm in a rush to bet against coming off a loss. And like I said, this Buffalo team just hasn't been able to get on any sort of groove. I mean, I think 2 games is still the most they've won in a row this year. And just in the last 6 games in a row for Buffalo, they're in that win-loss pattern. Now, they are off a loss. So, if you believe in that pattern, you think maybe they win tonight, but they just have not matched up well against the Boston Bruins. Boston won't be thrilled with losing to Montreal the other night. They dummied this Buffalo team. So I certainly lean Bruins. I'm not going to really bet the game, quite honestly, here in this one. Very odd to see that actually 3 straight meetings have gone over the total between the Bruins and the Sabres. Don't know if that's really going to continue here, though. I mean, Buffalo has surprisingly had their issues consistently finding the back of the net. It's been a grind for them. Just during the last 3 games, we've seen the Buffalo Sabres score a grand total of 5 goals. That's not what's going to win you a lot of hockey games when you've got that kind of production. And, there's still, a couple of guys up front for them that are failing to really get rolling for them at the offensive end of the ice. I mean, Tage Thompson is, it's a slow 6 goals for him in the first month of the season is what I consider a slow start. No question about it for Tage Thompson. And he's gone 3 straight without scoring a goal right now for the Buffalo Sabres. So, that's the issue right now with Buffalo. They have had not scored the goals we thought and they would this season. And the problem with that is they've not been improved enough defensively as far as, being able to, when the goals aren't there, can you clamp down enough defensively? And they just haven't been able to do that consistently. The defensive game has come and gone, fits and starts. And you could say the same thing about the 2 goalies that have played the majority of the season for the Sabres. Devin Levi's had some great games. He had the struggles early on. He's actually been better, I think, since he's returned from that injury. And the same thing definitely goes for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. He's had a couple of bright games and better starts. And then he had, not so good of a one against Pittsburgh. And the 1 goal that beats him, he's got to stop it. The one that really put that game out of reach for the Buffalo or for the Pittsburgh Penguins against Buffalo the other night. It will be Devin Levi tonight for the Sabres in net. Allmark for Boston. So right now, I think Boston probably wins this game. Don't want to go against them off a loss. It's a pass for me, though, as far as this game side-wise, totals-wise. You're right. Zacha is definitely someone that comes to mind if I'm looking at props involving the Boston Bruins right now. He's just been very, very consistent, scoring goals. He got another goal the other night against Montreal. He's on points now, I believe, for Pavel Zacha, entering this game in 9 of the last 10. So he's been very, very consistent. And he All right, we're back. Sorry about that. We had a couple of issues, but no, nevertheless, when you look at this game here, definitely Pavel Zacha props. JJ Peterka to me for Buffalo continues to be someone that has been a good, solid, option for them offensively, no question. So I think when you look at this game here from a Buffalo standpoint, JJ Peterka has actually been one of their better forwards. So when you look at it, I think definitely he would be the main target for props as far as the Sabres side goes going into this game. All right, we move along here to next game on this Tuesday slate, and it is the Calgary Flames against the Montreal Canadiens. We've got Calgary minus 160 road favorites, 6 being the total here in this game. I think when you look at this Calgary matchup, there's not a team I want to lay minus 160 with. I will tell you that right now, flat out. I'm not laying a price with them on the road of this magnitude. And look, I think Dustin Wolf is going to be a good goalie in time, but even the idea of having him up there in his debut the other night didn't exactly help this Ottawa team. I don't think they played that great for him, which was very disheartening to see. He's been sent back down, by the way. Jacob Markstrom is healthy and in the net tonight for the Calgary Flames. Sam Montembeault will get the start here for the Montreal Canadiens in this game. I just don't want to lay minus 160 on the road with Calgary right now. They're just a team that has not played that consistent brand of hockey enough. And the one thing you get from Montreal is I actually like the way they've competed here in recent games. Marty St. Louis' team went through a little bit of a rough patch earlier this month, actually more in October, struggling to win games, having some issues in their own end. But I definitely find that they have been a little bit better here in recent games. We saw them get a nice home win rather against Boston on Saturday night. And I thought they played the Bruins as well as they possibly could. It was a really, really strong game from this young team. And, they're going to be able to do that, more often than not, or on certain nights. They're going to have that potential to be able to win games like that against teams when you don't necessarily expect it. It's going to come down to what they can get from, their younger players. And you got to appreciate the way they were able to step up for the Boston Bruins in that game. 7 of Montreal's 15 games this year, by the way, have gone to overtime. So this is one of those deals where dog and draw are kind of interesting to me here in this game. Plus 140 with a little sprinkle on the draw with Montreal and a little sprinkle on the draw as well. I don't mind that whatsoever looking in those two directions here in this game. I do think we could see this game go past regulation, just like Montreal, their game against Boston did. Montreal, like I said, 7 of their 15 games, that's almost half their games this year have gone past regulation. 2 of the last 3 have. 5 of the last 10 have. Calgary, of course, went to a shootout against Toronto a couple of games ago to start this road trip. You look at head-to-head matchups with the Flames and the Canadiens. Last year, the game in Montreal also went beyond regulation. It was a 2-1 win in a shootout for Montreal. In fact, Montreal has beaten Calgary 5 straight times coming into this game. So to me, this is Montreal plus 140. This is the draw. We're going to go with a little bit of both here in this game. Plus 140 draw as well in this matchup, Flames and Canadiens. As far as the total here, nothing really all that strong for me on the total. It could go either way as far as that goes. I'm not exactly rushing to bet an under with Markstrom, who continues to be, up and down, to say the least. Actually, his numbers are a little bit better this year, but that's another thing that would concern me. Markstrom, 2-6, his record this year in 8 starts, 2.91 goals against and a sub-900 save percentage, below 900 for him. That's not exactly what you want to see out of a minus 160 road favorite and a Calgary team that overall in their last 10 games, just 2-8. The wins were against Seattle and Nashville. And are Seattle and Nashville playing great hockey this season? And overall, not really at this point in time. So a little bit on Montreal, a little bit on the draw here for me as well. And again, go to FanDuel if you're betting these draw wagers, because I find that often the best price is there. You'll get a good number and a good price with the draw there. Again, once again at FanDuel, where you can find plus 380 there for the draw. So definitely good stuff, a good price, good value. We have a history of these two teams going to overtime or a shootout. Montreal, especially this year, have been the kings of going past regulation. So definitely, I think, a close game, overtime potential here with the Flames and the Canadiens. All right, Vegas and Washington. As far as props, quickly, Zary, you're right. Connor Zary has scored in multiple goals. The kid has looked very much at home. He's gotten points in 4 of the 5 games since he's been called up and since he's been in the lineup. So I have no issue with that. Definitely could look in that direction for them. And then for Montreal, we talk about how Mike Matheson actually is all of a sudden, ripping that puck from the blue line. Goal prop, assist prop, and he's been scoring a bit lately as well. Sean Monahan's on a pretty good run as far as points are concerned. So there are definitely some prop looks for me right now in that game as well. Cuban Wayne Gretzky says Brendan Gallagher. Actually, Brendan Gallagher has perked up a little bit for the Montreal Canadiens here in recent games. 3 goals in the last 6 games for him, and you're going to get a great price on his props. Vegas and Washington. We've got Vegas minus 155, road favorite, 6 the total in this one. Vegas, of course, did the old trip to the White House for the Stanley Cup champion yesterday, since they are in Washington to take on the Capitals. And now they start this long road trip here in Washington tonight. They bounced back from 2 straight losses to take down the San Jose Sharks 5-0 in their last game. It was a very impressive, dominant effort. Well, as impressive as beating San Jose can be. It's not like you're beating a good hockey team, but still very solid win. 4-1 on the road this year. The Vegas Golden Knights. We'll see if they can carry over that success. They pretty much dominated Washington here, winning 5 straight and 6 of the last 7 head-to-head meetings in this series, including 2 straight here in Washington between these two teams. Although both games were very tight, very competitive. 1-0 and 3-2 victories for Vegas in their last 2 visits to Washington going into this game. I do think they get the win here. What I'll probably do is I'll do a little -1 and regulation split here with the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. I could see this one, being, regular. I could see this one being close, but the one thing I want to point out with Washington here during this nice little run they put together, where they've gone 6-2 in the last 8 games, they had 2 pretty good wins against New Jersey, but they beat a struggling Minnesota team, San Jose, Columbus. It's some, the wins of just the Islanders aren't playing great hockey right now. So it's not like they've played someone in the or beaten someone rather in the stratosphere of the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, you look at the other losses, Toronto and Florida, better teams. Washington hasn't won those games. So for me here, it is going to be Vegas, and I'll split it up -1 and regulation with the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. I actually would lean under the total. You're right. I feel right now with Washington, they've been an under machine. They've improved a little bit with their D and their goaltending from both the Lindgren and Kemper combination has played a little bit better. But they still consistently, as far as scoring goals are concerned, it's going to be a struggle for them oftentimes, because once you get past Ovechkin, once you get past Oshie, who actually had a tough season so far, Wilson, Strome, asking the depth forwards to step up and produce for Washington consistently is a concern I have of theirs. So I would lean under, but for me, Vegas -1 and regulation in this game. As far as player props go, not too much. I could see this being a low-scoring game, and if you look at the last 2 times these teams played in Washington, both stayed under. You could expect maybe more of the same here in this one, but you look at the lineup combinations moving forward, there are going to be, I believe, some changes here as far as the Washington Capitals. I believe they've made a couple of changes to their power play, if I'm not mistaken here. It looks like they've moved up Strome a little bit to the top. Strome is always the one I'm interested in as far as Washington, because he has played pretty well lately for them. As far as Vegas goes, I'll tell you what line has been very good for them lately. William Karlsson's been excellent. William Karlsson, certainly, if you're going to look at some offensive props involving the Vegas Golden Knights, he's streaky as fuck, William Karlsson. But right now, he has 8 points in the 7 points in the last 5 games, and he has 5 goals during that span as well. So there is no doubt William Karlsson is the red-hot commodity at the moment for the Vegas Golden Knights. There is no question. So I think the props start and end there with him tonight in this game. I think he's been absolutely terrific for them. Keep an eye on Will Carrier, Michael Amadio. Carrier had an assist against San Jose. He's on the second line now, so he's been bumped up the lineup. Amadio has not scored in 6 games, but he's getting more ice time now, playing with Stone and with Carrier. So that could be something you look at in this game, a little bit of an undervalued commodity, potentially. Amadio and Carrier on the second line for the Golden Knights alongside Mark Stone. All right, next up, we've got the Tampa Bay Lightning and the St. Louis Blues. Tampa Bay -130, road favorites in this game, 6.5 the total. I like the over here in this game. I definitely think we're going to see some goals. I have to admit, I never thought we'd see St. Louis, turn things around offensively to this degree, but, you did hang an 8 spot just recently on the Colorado Avalanche on the road. So clearly you're doing something right offensively if you're doing that. And look, this Tampa Bay team, they have just not been that same defensive group. And obviously not having Andre Vasilevsky has been a big part of it. Although Vasilevsky practicing with the team, and what the Tampa Bay Lightning and John Cooper have said about it is that Vasilevsky could be back by the end of the month or early December. So we are talking about maybe a couple of weeks away from the Tampa Bay Lightning having their number one goalie and arguably the best goalie in the league and in the sport back in between the pipes and Andre Vasilevsky. So keep an eye on that. But for now, obviously not quite ready to return. And tonight it'll be Jonas Johansson once again in net for the Lightning. Jordan Binnington getting the nod for the St. Louis Blues. But Tampa Bay, 4-1 to the over in their last 5 games. And you look at what's happened. They either score goals or they give up goals, or sometimes both. That's what we've seen. 6-4 against Ottawa, 6-5 against Toronto, 5-3 against Montreal, 5-3 against Chicago. Finally, an under in their last game. They got blanked by Carolina 4-0. But obviously, offensively, you don't see the Lightning shut out very often. So I think they'll probably respond here with a better offensive performance against a St. Louis team that, to their credit, actually, the last couple games, they played better defensively. 3 goals allowed in their last 2 wins combined against Colorado and Arizona. But, prior to that at home, they did give up 5 in a 5-2 loss to the Winnipeg Jets. And I think Tampa Bay coming off a shutout loss, that doesn't happen to guys like Nikita Kucherov, Steven Stamkos, and company very often. So you're probably going to see them come back strong and end up putting the puck in the net tonight against St. Louis. But meanwhile, like I said, the Blues have actually been really picking things up with their own offensive game. You look at their last 5 games, 4 scored against New Jersey, 6 scored against Montreal. They did have the 5-2 loss to Winnipeg, 2-1 win against Arizona, pretty tight game there, but then they explode for 8 against Colorado. Series history has been one that has been strong to the over. In fact, 4-0-1 to the over in the last 5 meetings between these two teams. We've seen 4-3, 4-3, 4-2, 5-2, 4-2 in the last 5 head-to-head meetings here between the Lightning and the Blues. So nothing for me on the side. I don't like the idea of fading Tampa Bay off a shutout loss, and they are still the better of these two teams. But, St. Louis has played them tough. Tampa Bay has not played well on the road, as we know. They're only 2-5 on the road this year. You can't like that, as far as laying a price with them on the road. So I'm just going to stick to the total here with over 6.5 at around -110. And as far as props go for this game, Lightning and Blues, Hagel on the top line, still undervalued. Paul and Barré-Boulet playing with Stamkos goes without saying. We continue to look their direction as far as props go. And for St. Louis, do we even have to say it anymore? It's Robert Thomas until proven otherwise. Robert Thomas has been excellent for the Blues, no question about that. He had his 5-game goal streak snapped, believe it or not, in that 8-2 win against Colorado. They scored 8 goals. He didn't score any of them, but he still had 4 assists and 4 points in that game. And from a point scoring standpoint, 6-game point streak for Thomas, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 points for him in the last 5 games. So no question about that. He has been the catalyst for the Blues resurgence, if you will, offensively, no doubt. And then someone else to keep an eye on because he's a streaky guy. He got a hat trick in the win against Colorado. He now has 6 points in the last, or 5 points in the last 4 games. And that's Pavel Buchnevich, who's now on that top line with the Thomas and Kapanen duo. So there's some props of interest for me here with the Lightning and the Blues tonight in that one. All right, next game up, Anaheim-Nashville. We've got Nashville -180, home favorite, 6 the total, shaded to the over in this game. This is where I want to back Anaheim now. Okay, this is the sweet spot. Okay, when they're a favorite or when they're playing, teams that they're expected more to beat. That's not exactly where I like to bet Anaheim. This is where I want them. This is a spot here where they're getting a nice price. They're going on the road where they've actually played solid hockey this year. The last time we saw Anaheim on the road, they played pretty well. They're 4-2 this season in their 6 road games. And on that last road trip, they knocked off the Boston Bruins in overtime. Very impressive fashion in that game. They put a 7-4 beat down on Philadelphia. They beat Pittsburgh in a game where the refs were trying to, I think, give the game to the Penguins, and they ended up beating Pittsburgh 4-3 in that game. So this is now where I want Anaheim. Anaheim in this spot. On the road, they've shown to be very comfortable, away from home. And I think you might see more of that here in this game. I think the draw is worth a look too. If you look at it last year, 2 of the 3 meetings in the regular season between the Ducks and Preds went beyond regulation. So this is going to be kind of like what I'm going to do with the Montreal side against Calgary. We're going to split between the dog and the draw here with this one, Anaheim and Nashville. Anaheim, again, you can get it plus 160, plus 155. And the draw, you're going to probably get a pretty good price on that here. I'm just looking at FanDuel. Anaheim, Nashville draw, plus 360 here in this game. So pretty good price with that. I think a sprinkle on both of those is a good way to go here. Anaheim plus 150, plus 160, and also the draw here, which you can get at plus 360. Alex, who's in the chat, he likes the first period over here, 1.5 minus 135 in this game. We did see 2 of the 3 games go over the total last season between these 2 teams. And surprisingly, we've seen Nashville where they've had this run of 6 straight games with at least 6 total goals. So if you believe in that, this total is only at 6. So push worst case scenario, if you're buying into the Nashville uptick in offensive production, really on both sides. They've scored a little bit more than they normally do, but they've also given up some more goals than they normally do, especially the last 2 games that they lost on that road trip. I mean, they give up, or the last 2 games overall, they give up 6 to Winnipeg at the end of the road trip. They come back home and they allow 7 goals in the loss to the Arizona Coyotes. So all of a sudden, trying to clean things up defensively, Nashville, after these last 2 games. John Gibson and UC Saros are in net. And I also want to point out, too, that the defensive struggles which have increased for this Nashville team the last few games, I think it probably coincides with McDonough being out. And he's still out with the lower body injury. He's not back tonight. This will be the 5th straight game he's missed due to the lower body injury that he has currently. And if you look at Nashville in the last 4 games without him, they're only 1-3. They did beat Edmonton the first game without him, 5-2. But after that, they give up 4 goals to Calgary, lose 4-2, 6 goals to Winnipeg, lose 6-3. And then the 7 goals to Arizona, they lose 7-5. So 1-3 without McDonough. The last 3 games, 0-3 without him. And in those 3 games, they've allowed 17 goals in those 3 games combined. So that is a missed component on that blue line, without a doubt. The veteran, Ryan McDonough here for this Nashville team. That's oftentimes what you got to look at. There are certain defensemen where the team, A, has depth to replace them, quality depth, and B, they can get by without them and they don't make as big of an impact. But clearly that's been the case for McDonough, much like it has been with Spurgeon that we've talked about all year. Jared Spurgeon being out for Minnesota, and they have really had a tough time, defensively without him. And it's been that way now for Nashville here these last few games. Without Ryan McDonough, they have been hurting as far as keeping the puck out of their own net is concerned. So prop-wise in this game, I mean, for Anaheim, McTavish is number 1 on the list. I mean, McTavish, every game he's making things happen. Now, Frank the Tank Petrano has finally started to cool down a little bit, after the red-hot start, although he did have get back on the beam after 4 straight games without a goal to score 2 and have an assist against San Jose. So does he get back on the beam again? You could look in his direction, but no, McTavish has been consistent, scoring goals, piling up points. No question about that. Alex Killorn, by the way, moving up to the Carlson and Terry line for the Ducks, playing on the top line. Someone in the chat mentioning Leo Carlson. He's been very impressive. Of course, he had a hat trick in a losing effort against Philadelphia. 6 goals on the season, 2 assists, 8 points, 4 points in the last 2 games combined. So don't mind any of those options as far as Anaheim is concerned. Another key injury, too, for Nashville, and what would concern me about them, not only tonight but moving forward, is Thomas Novak. A hell of an underrated player, I should say he is. 26-year-old center. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, upper body injury. The guy already has 12 points this year, 6 goals and 6 assists for the Nashville Predators in a span of 14 games. So you think about that. Thomas Novak has almost been a point-per-game player for the Nashville Predators this year. 12 points in 14 games for them. So that is another big loss for Nashville to go with McDonough on the blue line. So they're a very vulnerable minus 180 favorite, in my opinion, here in this game tonight against the Anaheim Ducks. All right, next up, we continue along. We've got New Jersey and Winnipeg. Winnipeg minus 140, minus 145. Home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. So I pretty much after what I saw against Washington, and I did take New Jersey. I recommended New Jersey in that game. It was I believe it was Friday night game, I think, last week. I thought, I know that they don't have Jack Hughes. It's a big gaping absence, big gaping hole, big loss. And they don't have Nico Hischier, and that's your top two centers. But surely you'd be good enough here maybe to still be able to take care of business against the Washington Capitals when you already lost to them, and they couldn't. And now we have seen New Jersey with a big enough sample size and a big enough body of work without Jack Hughes and without Nico Hischier, since those two guys have been out, where they haven't looked like the same team. They haven't been as good. That's just the bottom line. Your results dictate the way you play. Your record says what you are, and without Hughes and Hischier, this is a 1-3 hockey team, and the only win was against Chicago. And that Chicago game, by the way, they had to hang on to win that game. It was not an easy or comfortable victory for the New Jersey Devils. But in the games without Hischier and Hughes, they lose 4-1 to St. Louis. They have that brutal defensive nightmare of a game against Colorado, lose 6-3. And then they come back home and really not a great effort or performance against Washington, losing 4-2. So tough times wanting to back this New Jersey team, and the betting markets are onto the struggles too, because Winnipeg's taken money. This opened minus 125 up to minus 145 here in this game. I grabbed it early, minus 130 with Winnipeg, minus 145. I'd probably pump the brakes a little bit, but I know I don't want to back New Jersey right now, given their struggles at the moment. Without Hischier and without Hughes. And this is no disrespect to, and it's not that the guys that are moving up the lineup at center are doing a bad job. And in fact, Dawson Mercer and Michael McLeod, the top two centers right now, I don't put any blame on them. They're doing the best they can. And if you actually look, Michael McLeod's on a 3-game point streak, and I still think his props are very undervalued now that he's up as the number one center. 1 goal, 3 points in the last 3 games. Dawson Mercer was ice cold. He finally moves into the second center hole for this New Jersey team between Toffoli and Holtz. And all of a sudden, he now has points in 2 of the last 3 games and goals in 2 of the last 3 games for New Jersey. So I don't blame them. They're doing the best they can. They're doing everything they can to the best of their ability. But it's just that their effort in the top 2 center spots is not enough to overcome what they're losing in those 2 spots from the absence of Hughes and Hischier. So that ends up being the issue here with the New Jersey Devils at the moment. So we'll see how this game goes. It's been a struggle for the Devils, no question. Winnipeg, by the way, here in Winnipeg, they have done very well against New Jersey. I think this has been a tough place to play for the Devils over the years. 5-1 for Winnipeg and for the Jets hosting the Devils in the last 6 meetings. We'll see how this one goes. We have seen the New Jersey Devils as well, in this last couple of games. They've definitely, their defensive game has taken a hit. There's no question. They've given up, 4 to St. Louis, 6 to Colorado, 4 to Washington during this span. And offensively, they have slowed down a little bit during this span. So we'll see how this goes. But I think offensively, maybe they can pick it up. And defensively, though, they continue to have issues as far as keeping the puck out. And when you lose a guy that's one of the best two-way forwards and one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL, and Nico Hischier, I guess you should say it can be expected that they're going to struggle a bit more defensively as they have. But then you look at the Winnipeg side of the equation. This team's lighting up the scoreboard. It really is incredible to see. I mean, they have scored 5, 5, 6, and they did get subdued by Dallas 3-2 over the weekend. But still, that's over their last 4 games. This Winnipeg Jets team has scored a grand total of 18 goals in their last 4 games combined. That is well over an average of 4 goals per game during that span. So, when I look at this situation, I definitely think the over's in play here, 6.5. The games in Winnipeg have gone over the total between these two teams. So I do like the over a little bit here, 6.5, -110. I did grab Winnipeg early, but now it's getting up there a little bit, -150. I say if you haven't bet Winnipeg yet, you still want to, maybe you look at a -1 or a regulation line, get a little bit of a better price with the Jets here in this game. And as far as props, like I said, I think McLeod and Mercer, and to a lesser extent, even Alexander Holtz now is in a top 6 role. He's a first-round pick. They expect offense from him. Now, he hasn't had a point in the last 3 games. That would be my concern, but still would look in that direction. And for the Winnipeg Jets, you know who we're going back to the well with. He's really started to find his game. He's now scored in 3 straight games on a 6-game point streak for the Jets. That's Cole Perfetti right now for the Winnipeg Jets. Cole Perfetti on an absolute roll right now. Goals in 3 straight games, not exactly being priced like it either. So decent prop looks there in this game. All right, next up, we've got the Arizona Coyotes and the Dallas Stars. Dallas -250, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. Arizona off a big-time explosion offensively against the Nashville Predators, winning that game by a score of 7-5 in Music City the other night. Now they will continue their road trip here as they take on the Dallas Stars in this game. Dallas returning home from a very successful road trip. Not exactly what I call a bet on spot, finishing up that 3-game. Now, it wasn't a long road trip for them, but 3-game road trip. They won every game. Columbus, Winnipeg, Minnesota, a beatdown over the hapless, struggling, floundering Minnesota Wild on Sunday. So a very nice road trip overall for the Dallas Stars. But now they're back home. They're laying a significant number. We know it's a scrappy, feisty little team here that the Arizona Coyotes have. Now, unfortunately, Dallas has had the better of it against them. Last year, they played each other 4 times, 4-0 sweep for the Dallas Stars. And you didn't even get any of the games going to overtime necessarily in against them. But it's a different animal here. I'm going to just sprinkle ever so slightly on Arizona and the draw. Just small bets here. Just think this is a really, really tricky spot for the Stars off a successful road trip. And keep in mind, they have a little bit of a reverse home road split going on. Dallas 7-2 on the road this year, but just 3-2 at home coming into this game tonight. So haven't exactly been an absolutely tremendous home team this season, the Dallas Stars. So it's just too lofty of a price for me, especially when you get this Arizona team that, look, even in the losses, look at Arizona's schedule. They lost 5-4 to a great LA Kings team, 4-3 in overtime to Anaheim, 5-3 to Winnipeg, competitive game, 2-1 to St. Louis. They've been right there in every game. Each of the last 4 losses for Arizona, they have alternated wins and losses in their last 8 games. And all 4 of those losses, 4-4 of their last 8 games, all 4 of those losses, they're right there. They're right there in the game with a chance to win. So absolutely, given the dubious nature of this particular scheduling spot for Dallas, successful, perfect road trip. Look, Ottinger in net, we know how good he can be. And I think he is starting to round into form. He's got a good record, 7-2, 2.19 goals against, .929 save percentage. He's in net for the Stars. Karel Vejmelka gets the nod for the Coyotes. He had a couple 3 straight starts in a row, which were subpar. He was a lot better, albeit in a losing effort against St. Louis in his last start. But just a bit of a tricky spot for Dallas, given the situation here off that successful, perfect road trip. And they're laying too big of a price just for my liking. I would add this number closer to 200, 210. But this shot up to -250 earlier today. And at that point, I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to get a little tempted here by the Arizona Coyotes in this spot. So a little bit on Arizona here, which you can get in the plus 205 to plus 210 range. And the draw for sure in this game is one, and especially considering Arizona's had this propensity to play, it'd be right there in every game, even the games they've lost. You can get plus 400 at FanDuel for the draw. So outstanding value there as far as that goes. So like I said, going against the grain, it's not easy to fade Dallas right now. They're playing great. They are one of the better teams in the NHL, the Western Conference, but just based on the price and the spot combined, we're taking a shot here. Arizona in the draw for me in this game. I actually think the over could be in play here. Arizona, believe it or not, they're scoring lately. They've trended over 7-2 to the over in their last 9 games. And the Dallas Stars, I mean, offensively, this has been a nice little run that they've put together. Going back to 8 games ago, or really 8 games ago against Columbus, 5 goals, 4. They did get shut out by Vancouver, 2 against Boston. But again, Boston is going to try to tighten things up when you play them. They scored 5 against Columbus, 3 against Winnipeg, the 8 spot, against the Minnesota Wild. So the Stars are really in a good groove right now offensively. And with this total being at 6 here in this game, I would look at the over as well, 6 minus 120. And then prop wise in this game, Arizona, Lawson Krause, Michelli, Logan Cooley, consider looks there as far as those players go. And then for Dallas, there are a lot of players that are right now in pretty good form at the moment for them offensively. Matty Duchene is finally starting to get comfortable here with Dallas. He's on a 3-game goal streak, 6 points in those 3 games. Again, the value is not going to be nearly as good as far as his props, but Matt Duchene certainly is starting to get into a groove here with this Stars team offensively. And it goes without saying, Wyatt Johnston, Mason Marchment, players like that. Joe Pavelski is another one that's been able to get some offense going for this team, has had a pretty decent start to the year. So no question, there are some decent looks here in this game as far as I'm concerned with player props on the Dallas side as well. Duchene, Marchment, Wyatt Johnston, they definitely all stand out here as far as player prop looks here for this game for the Dallas Stars. All right. By the way, thank you to everyone in the chat. We appreciate it very much. Hit the like button. All right. Sorry about that. We are back again. Knocked off a couple of times. I think they were doing some area maintenance with the internet, so I think that's played a part in it. My apologies. But again, getting back to just in case you didn't get the last part of it with Dallas, Matt Duchene's on a heater right now for them. 3 straight games with a goal. He's really starting to find a comfort zone again with this Dallas team. And then on the flip side, Wyatt Johnston, Joe Pavelski, Mason Marchment. These are guys that have really been catalysts as well offensively for them. So I think if you look at those 4 individuals in particular for Dallas tonight, definitely you can look at some of those players, Duchene, Pavelski, Johnston, Marchment, as pretty good player prop options here in this game for the Dallas Stars. All right, we have reached our final game of this Tuesday NHL slate, and it is the Florida Panthers and the San Jose Sharks. Florida minus 300 now. In some spots, the total 6.5 shaded to the over. I think I'm going to stay out of San Jose games for now. Like, we had a nice little run early in the season where there were still some value trying to fade this wretched team. And now, you're going to get just these exorbitant prices every time out. You got a team like Florida, which is a good team, but not a great team, at the moment. And here they are laying minus 300 on the road. So it's just very, very difficult to find the value to fade San Jose right now. Odds makers are, really trying to make it, impossible and try to price you out, betting against this San Jose Sharks team. But at the same time, I know I don't want San Jose. I know that. So I look at this as a game where I just don't want much to do with it unless I bet props, and that's probably what I would be looking at here in this game against with the Panthers and the Sharks. I do want to point out, though, as far as series history goes, Florida has just completely and utterly dominated this team. 9 straight head-to-head victories for the Florida Panthers over the San Jose Sharks. That being said, in San Jose last year, the game did go to a shootout. It was a competitive game. Florida gets the 4-3 shootout win between the Panthers and Sharks last year, the one visit that Florida made to the Shark Tank. But Florida's playing really nice hockey right now, 4 straight wins. What I've been impressed with, too, is Ekman Larsson. For as much heat as he took in Vancouver, and rightfully so, he was god-awful for them last year. He's chipping in points from the blue line. He's been, not making the same defensive gaffes that we have seen in the past from him. Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers have gotten all they possibly could want and get from Oliver Ekman-Larsson in a very big time of need for them, with no Aaron Ekblad and Brandon Montour, for an extended period of time to start the year. So there's no doubt. We got to salute him. Gus Forsling has been good. They've gotten Niko Mikkola, Dmitry Kulikov, Josh Mahura, this kid on the blue line that scored his first goal the other night too, Uvis Balinskis as well. So credit to Florida's blue line. They've hung in there with easily their two best defensemen out, and here they are going to San Jose with a 9-5 record. Now they are only 3-4 on the road, so that's another thing that would, it's why I'm not rushing to take Florida tonight, even though I can't put money on San Jose right now. Even after those 2 wins, they played Philly and they played a discombobulated Edmonton team. They played someone good after that. They lost 5-0, and then they got beat down by Anaheim 4-1. So back to the same old Sharks the last 2 games. But I don't want to take Florida at this price. I would just look at some props. And for me, there's some clear choices. Sam Reinhart, absolutely on fire for the Panthers. Evan Rodriguez as well, 5 points in the last 3 games. Reinhart props, Evan Rodriguez props. Carter Verhaeghe has 3 goals in the last 4 games. He's heating up. Matthew Tkachuk, it was only a matter of time before he finally got it going. He scored now a couple of goals in the last few games, and he is on a 6-game point streak for the Florida Panthers. They just got Sam Bennett back from a lower body injury. It may take him a couple games to get up to speed, but they're getting definitely contributions from multiple players right now, this Florida Panthers team. As far as San Jose goes, obviously you don't want to pepper the board as far as props go with this team, a team that can be so offensively challenged. But, if you're going to look at anybody right now for the Sharks, William Eklund does have 3 points in the last 4 games for this team. And we do have a move up the lineup for Daniil Gushchin for the San Jose Sharks. He's been recalled from the minor leagues, and he is lighting it up there with the Barracuda. It's the San Jose Barracuda. He is doing a nice job down there. 11 games at the AHL level, 4 goals and 9 assists for Daniil Gushchin in those 11 games, and he's going to get an opportunity now tonight, it looks like, on the second line for the San Jose Sharks in this game, making his NHL debut with Michael Granlund and Luke Cunnin on the second line tonight for the Sharks. So if you can stomach it, we are talking about a player for the San Jose Sharks, but if you can stomach it, he is going to get opportunity here and a second line spot for the San Jose Sharks tonight, assuming that there is no change between now and opening faceoff. By the way, I do want to update the goalie situations on a couple of these games that I didn't get to. New Jersey Winnipeg is Akira Schmid in net for New Jersey, Connor Hellebuck for Winnipeg. And this Florida San Jose game, Anthony Stolarz, the backup, as they give Sergei Bobrovsky a night off. Stolarz in net for Florida, and Mackenzie Blackwood in net for the San Jose Sharks. I'm just going to take a look to see what the price is on Daniil Gushchin here tonight for the San Jose Sharks, but it looks like plus, actually not as much as I would have thought, plus 380 at Caesars, plus 340 at DraftKings. So the price isn't as big as I would have thought on him. So, but still worth a look, because you're going to definitely get a pretty good opportunity for him playing for the San Jose Sharks. All right, good stuff. That is the Tuesday card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Over 200 live viewers. Hit the like button. Make sure you're an Ice Guys family plan member and subscriber. Just $9.99 US per month. Make sure you sign up. Daily betting card, the player props, Alex's live wagers are posted there. And of course, we're going to have lots of bonus content. We're going to have more bonus content once football winds down. We're going to have more time to do bonus shows, bonus videos, bonus content, but we will continue to have our special exclusive betcasts in the meantime there, including next week. We're just going to drop it on you next week. Alex and I, we're going to just start a live betcast one day next week and just say, here you go, everybody. An impromptu live betcast for our family plan members and subscribers, exclusive to them, as well as the Patreon members. So make sure you join us next week for that. Looking forward to it. And also make sure you check out the Ice Guys store as well to get your merch. Alex B. Smith, I'm under the weather today, but he's in the chat, and he does want to mention his best bet in the chat, and I will mention that in a moment when we get to best bets. But first, we're going to go to the bargain bin special of the night. And of course, Alex is abstaining tonight from Bargain Bin special on this big Tuesday card. Last night, I took a shot with Simon Holmstrom, of course, for the New York Islanders, and it doesn't help when the team as a whole only gets one goal in that hockey game. So, unfortunately, no dice there with Simon Holmstrom in that game for the New York Islanders. As far as tonight, there's a couple options that stand out here as far as player props go for this game, or for this card tonight, I should say, with the way it looks. For me, though, I'm going to go to, let me just see what we can find here. I just want to make sure it makes the price threshold. It does make the threshold. I'm going to go to Pittsburgh and Columbus, okay? Penguins and the Blue Jackets. And we have a case of a young, player, third overall pick, really starting to find his comfort zone. He's played really well for this team. You heard the passionate comments after the loss to the Rangers. He's sick of losing. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want it to last. He thinks this team is capable of better. And he has certainly played like a team, or like a player that wants to lead his team out of the abyss and out of the struggles that they are currently in. He's been picking up his offensive production the last few games, and you can still get him at a good price. If he continues to show this, ability to score goals continuously and consistently, you're not going to get these prices for much longer. We're going to take Adam Fantilli for the Columbus Blue Jackets, plus 380 at FanDuel. Adam Fantilli, Columbus Blue Jackets, plus 380 for my bargain bin special of the night for this game here between the Penguins and the Blue Jackets. All right, it is time for my best bet here. Alex B. Smith, his best bet is going to be that first period over between the Anaheim Ducks and the Nashville Predators. So that's Anaheim-Nashville first period over, 1.5, minus 135. Ducks and Predators for Alex with his best bet. My best bet for this Tuesday card, an interesting slate for sure. I'm going to go with that Lightning and Blues over 6.5, minus 115. Tampa Bay, St. Louis, over 6.5, minus 110, minus 115. I like this look. It's been a series history trending over. Tampa Bay has gone over in 4 of their last 5 games. The Blues have stepped things up offensively. And one underrated part about that over, too, Eric Chernak is not going to play for the Lightning. And Eric Chernak is a stay-at-home, good in his own end type of defenseman, physical, rugged, and he blocks a shit ton of shots. He already has 18 blocked shots in 15 games this season for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So that is a big component to keeping the puck out of the net for Tampa Bay that is not going to play tonight, that being Eric Chernak for the Lightning. So that should help the St. Louis cause offensively. I like betting on a good offensive team. It's a top 3 power play team like Tampa Bay coming off a shutout loss the other night against Carolina. You would think they're going to want to bounce back at the offensive end of the ice. So the recipe is in motion here for goals in the Midwest here between the Blues and Lightning. So Tampa Bay, St. Louis, over 6.5, minus 115 for my best bet for this Tuesday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the Ice Guys.